It's looking like David Dobrik's pizza business might be off to a bit of a rough start, and he's dragging Tana down with him. A lot of people are really upset with Tana right now after she attended David Dobrik's launch party for his new store, Dobrik's. Jeff confronted Tana during this week's Jeff FM episode, and it sounds like Jeff was really hurt over what happened, and he feels like David got what he wanted. As you guys know, David recently opened his new business called Dobrik's right on Sunset Boulevard. Dobrik's is a pizza joint, and apparently it's been years in the making. Back in 2020, David and his business partner signed a lease for an old Starbucks location and got to work.
And I swear to God, as we're talking about it, how Starbucks would never leave, we look at the building and the Starbucks sign is gone. And we're like, holy f***. And that night, we went to, it's a Sunday night, I remember, we went to the landlord's building, assuming that someone was going to be there to, like, get the space right then and there, like, sign the lease.
On a Sunday night.
People camped out, the line was down the whole block, and some people were even waiting in line all day long. And so far, there have been quite a few mixed reviews. On the opening day, there were a ton of David Dobrik fans there, so most of the reviews were really, really good. But as time has gone on, things have changed. One customer went there and said David stopped giving out tokens to either play a song and have a party or get a free scoop of ice cream.
Come with me to try David Dobrik's new pizza place, Dobrik's. It's been about a week since the grand opening and there was still a pretty decent line. We waited about 30 minutes and when we got in, we found out that they weren't giving out tokens anymore, which was sad because I really wanted to have a pizza party. They also ran out of tavern, so we ended up getting the doughy hot honey cheese. And not gonna lie, it was just a really super mediocre pizza, and overall I rate it a 5 out of 10.
I'm not sure if they weren't doing it just on that day she went, but the token was a huge perk that David pushed when they opened. He was so excited about being able to put the token in to play music, and if you didn't feel like driving the employees crazy, you could always get a free scoop of ice cream. Something tells me they're probably severely understaffed because they're not even a few weeks into this and they've already reduced their hours of operation. Their Instagram page says, temporary hours of operation, Sunday to Wednesday, 4 p.m. to 10 p.m., and Thursday to Saturday, 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. Most pizza places are like 12 p.m. to 3 a.m., and not opening until 4 makes me think that he'll probably be losing out on a ton of business.
This is how my experience at Dobrik's Pizza went. I was at a job site down the street pouring concrete on Sunset Plaza for this 3-story mansion that they're building. And it's not the first time I go to this job site, so every time I went there, I wanted to stop by. I just never had a chance until today. So I get there and I try to open the door and they tell me we don't open until 4. So I took the walk of shame back to my truck. I ended up going to grab some other food somewhere else, and this is where I ended up. The complete opposite of pizza, I know. After waiting like 15 minutes, they called me, grabbed my food, and I headed out. I'll have to go back to try again, but just so you guys know, they don't open until 4 p.m. for now.
David said the whole point of him even opening this pizza place was to give people and his friends a place to hang out after going out. He gave an interview right before they opened, and this is what it had to say. Situated next to the influencer hotspot Saddle Ranch, Dobrik's is a partnership among Dobrik, fellow creator Ilya, and the founders of the Los Angeles-based restaurant chain Lemonade. And then they quoted David saying, "We would go out all the time at Saddle Ranch. Now we're open here until 3 a.m. Other places closed. This will be the spot for our friends to come and eat and hang out." Apparently the reduced hours are temporary, and I'm sure being a new business, they probably have a lot of issues to sort out before things run smoothly, but this just goes to show there's so much more to running a successful business in the food industry outside of followers. Ilya did Jason's podcast the other week, and he talked about how hard it was to comb through all the applicants they got and find people who they could trust.
The hardest thing about starting a restaurant, getting a good team together, I'd say is the hardest thing for sure.
Right.
Because, like, at the end of the day, you can't do anything by yourself, right? And it's like to find good people that are loyal and that you can trust and that will do the work without you micromanaging them is, like, extremely hard. And we had, I mean, I'm not exaggerating, we probably had 4,000 applicants. And of those 4,000, like, 600 lived in LA. Of those 600, only 100 were good. Of those 100 that were good, only 20 or 30 were like the top best, including the general manager and the AGM. And so it's like...
But despite all of those things going wrong, David still managed to have his launch party. He invited all of his friends. He had this huge fountain with tomatoes inside of it, which according to TMZ, he ended up donating over 65 pounds of tomatoes to charity. And he also had Tana Mongeau there. E! News reported on some big names that attended, and they wrote, YouTube sensation David Dobrik is trying his hand in the kitchen with his latest venture, Dobrik's Pizza in Los Angeles. Guests for his grand opening included Diplo, Josh Peck, Natalie, and Tana Mongeau. Now, a lot of people were pretty surprised to see Tana Mongeau supporting David Dobrik, especially since she's gotten really close with Jeff. They do their podcasts together every week, they're always together, and Tana knows what David did to Jeff and how they're in the middle of a lawsuit. Jeff posted a video the other day with Tana and titled it, Our First Real Fight. And right in the middle is a cropped picture of Tana at David's launch party.
There was a moment last week where I thought I'd never be back here again.
Same.
Jeff and I got into the crazy. We're toxic. We're officially toxic.
I'm fine.
So Jeff was upset with Tana because he felt like Tana was almost set up and she fell right into what David wanted. Get Tana there, Jeff will obviously see, and it'll end up hurting him.
I felt like you got taken advantage of and manipulated, and you fell right into a trap. And that's what I was like pissed off about. The opposite side is saying nobody can hang out with him because he makes me look bad.
But Jeff said that none of his old friends are even allowed to talk to him because apparently it'll make David look bad. Jeff was a part of the Vlog Squad for years and he made a lot of friendships within that group. But since everything that's happened and now the lawsuit, those friends haven't been seen with Jeff at all. On the other hand, Tana feels like she's given up a lot for Jeff. She said she gave up a lot of her LA friendships, and she doesn't think Jeff should let what they have go over a photo that she didn't even want to be in.
You was my best friend and let go of a lot of like LA or faker friendships in order to make sure that you know how much I love you. Because I feel like you have a really big issue with knowing that people love you if they don't really show that.
Yeah.
Tana said that she spent most of her time talking to the Vlog Squad members, and apparently a lot of them said that they miss Jeff.
A lot of his group where they're like, I miss Jeff so much and I love Jeff so much. Oh my God, I might be airing too much out, but
No,
I'm
it's
not going to
fine.
hit
I
him
talk
up.
about that. I just said
But
on here that
I can't hit him up. And I'd be like, why the can't you hit him up? If you miss Jeff, hit him up. You're a grown
bad
person.
PR.
Jeff said he understands why they chose David over him, and that's because they need David for money and they've known him for longer. Tana kept saying how she wanted Jeff to be able to move on from that era and not be so caught up in what happened, and Jeff responded by saying something that we've never heard before about his accident.
What if I
Consumed with
told
it.
you that my accident wasn't as much of an accident, it was more of a failed prank that I wasn't in on? And then when it came down to it and I was in the hospital and they filled out an accident report and they said that I was driving it.
Yeah, so it's a super wrong situation.
Like, what? Something tells me that incident reports are almost like legal documents, and if that's true and Jeff has the proof of that report and the video, then David might be in a lot of trouble. A lot of people in the comments under this video are siding with Jeff, and they understand why he feels so hurt. Here's what people had to say. I hope Jeff knows that people in the comments aren't just hating on Tana. We just see through her crap. I saw the pictures of Tana on David's story, and honestly, my heart dropped. I want to cry because I fully know how Jeff feels, and I completely agree. If you're close to someone, their enemies are your enemies. I don't want to hang out with anyone that my close friends has problems with. Jeff is 1000% right about David setting that trap to get the pic of him and Tana. In all the years of David and Tana being friends or acquaintances, I don't think he has ever posted a pic of them together. He was definitely messing with Jeff, and it's really disheartening that Tana refuses to see that. She says she didn't want to be in it, and yet she's the one holding the phone, sticking her tongue out. There are some people who can understand Tana's side because she has had a long friendship with David, but for the most part, most of the comments are siding with Jeff. This isn't just like a stupid fight between two friends where you're forced to pick a side. David nearly killed Jeff. He completely altered his life, and while Jeff's been dealing with the side effects from his injury, David's been off traveling the world and opening pizza shops. It's such a different situation, and I'm guessing it makes Jeff feel a bit betrayed. Luckily for them, it seems like they worked everything out. Jeff went to her Disney launch party to support her, and they talked everything out on the podcast, so hopefully they've figured things out by now. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think about everything down below, and I'll see you next time.